Good morning, everybody. This is Miss Grace, and we are still working on day 23 of the remote learning packet. We're working on the informational text to keep it down. So yes, in the last video, we did the first two steps of a close read. We numbered the paragraphs, which was already done for us, and then we went through and we highlighted the first sentence in each paragraph. So now we're going to get ready to start reading it. So what you want to do is you want to read these highlighted sentences so that you start getting a picture of what this article is about. Okay, so the ocean has never been a quiet place, but because of humans, the world's waters are now noisier than ever. The deep ocean gets very little light, which makes it hard for marine mammals to rely on only their eyesight to get around. Marine mammals also make sounds to communicate with one another. The ocean has excellent acoustics. Propeller-driven ships create the most ocean noise. For dolphins and whales, it's like trying to talk to a friend across a noisy classroom or trying to hear the teacher when everyone is shouting, says Jason Gedemke. NOAA has spent 6 years mapping the noise levels of human activities in the waters around the U.S. Other efforts are also underway to make the ocean a quieter place. Experts say that the most encouraging news comes from the International Maritime Organization, which is responsible for ocean safety worldwide. Scientists at NOAA say that's a major step in the right direction. And in the last video, we took a look at the sidebar, and we took a deep dive into the sound bar, into the sidebar, and started to look at the echolocation, how it works, what do animals use it for, so forth. Okay, so now we're used to, we have an idea of what this article is about. We have all our rough ideas down. Let's start reading for details now. The ocean has never been a quiet place. Icebergs screech as they grind against each other. Whales bellow to one another over long distances. Some fish actually grunt to attract mates or ward off predators. But because of humans, the world's waters are now noisier than ever before. Deep-sea oil drilling, shipping, and other human activities are the reason. Scientists think all that racket is creating trouble for marine animals that must be able to detect sounds to survive. Researchers are working to help find ways to turn down the ocean's volume. Okay, so just in this little section, we have our good beginning here. Okay? They were giving us information that maybe we had never thought about before, about icebergs screeching and whales bellowing and fish grunting. And notice the verbs. The verbs are very strong here. They certainly do paint a picture. You get an idea about how noisy the ocean is just naturally, and then humans just add into this. Okay? So one of the things that happen is because of all of that human noise, it's becoming harder for animals to communicate with one another. But this is actually a really good beginning. It's a bit of a surprise. It's given us some information that we may not have had before. Seeing with sound. The deep ocean gets very little light, which makes it hard for marine animals to rely on only their eyesight to get around. Dolphins, porpoises, and many types of whales use sound instead to help them see. This is known as echolocation. See Seeing Down Deep, next page. Marine mammals also make sounds to communicate with one another. For example, some whales sing to attract mates, and dolphins call each other by whistles that serve as names. The ocean has excellent acoustics. So the first thing you should be asking yourself is acoustics. What does that mean? We're going to be looking for a definition in this next paragraph. Sound travels farther and much faster through water than through air. That allows marine animals to communicate or find prey over long distances. Unfortunately, that also means they might hear the sound of a ship or deep-sea oil drilling thousands of miles away. Scientists are worried that the excessive noise is making it nearly impossible for the animals to find a quiet spot. Did you hear your definition? They didn't call it out, but we can infer from these two sentences being right next to each other, the ocean has excellent acoustics. Sound travels farther and much faster through water than through air. So here's our definition for acoustics. So you make sure that you call it out, okay? And you might want to, take a different pen and underline this sentence or highlight it in a different color so that you realize that that is your definition of what acoustics is. Can you hear me? Propeller-driven ships create the most ocean noise. More than 90% of goods transported between countries are carried by ships. The booming noise these ships make can be louder than a jet engine. Studies have found that sea mammals are raising and altering their voices to be heard over all the underwater racket. This is a cause and effect. Okay? It's so noisy that sea animals are basically yelling at each other. Also, notice this. More than 90% of goods transported between countries are carried by ships. When somebody gives you a statistic like that, you might just want to call it out in the margins just so you know that 90% thing, okay? The other thing you want to be taking a look at is it says the booming noise these ships make can be louder than a jet engine. So that's a great comparison to make. It gives you some idea about how noisy it is. The sounds that a ship can make. Even I didn't realize that ships were that noisy under the water. So you want to be aware of that. Okay, paragraph 7. For dolphins and whales, it's like trying to talk to a friend across a noisy classroom or trying to hear the teacher when everyone is shouting, says Jason Gedemke. He's a scientist at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So here we find out what that NOAA abbreviation means. So you might want to call that out. So if you're asked what NOAA stands for, you can go find it really easily. Scientists don't know exactly how being forced to shout is affecting marine animals, but they have discovered that loud booms from ships can cause permanent injury, such as hearing loss. Okay, so you have hearing loss in animals, which I never gave a thought to. Okay, hearing loss in marine animals. Okay, sorry, my handwriting's bad. Okay, so you want to call that out in your margins. And they think that all that human-made racket is likely making it harder for whales and dolphins to hunt, find mates, and listen for predators. So you have a list here, so you might want to put list, call it out in your margins, and if you don't know what racket means, you might put a question mark there. You might have to go looking and finding what racket means. I don't think they're talking about a tennis racket there, by the way. Lowering the volume. NOAA has spent 6 years mapping the noise levels of human activities in the waters around the U.S. It plans to combine that data with maps that show the migration routes and favorite feeding spots of marine mammals. NOAA hopes that eventually shipping and oil companies will use the information to avoid areas where ocean animals are most likely to be found. So you might want to put here a maybe solution to the problem. So again, sorry about my handwriting. Okay. Paragraph 10. Other efforts are also underway to make the ocean a quieter place. For example, some ships used for research, including those operated by NOAA, are being built with quieter motors. So there's another possible solution. Experts say that the most encouraging news comes from the International Maritime Organization, which is responsible for ocean safety worldwide. In 2014, it set new international guidelines that aim to reduce the noise levels of commercial ships. Scientists at NOAA say that's a major step in the right direction. They hope that with continued research, they'll find clearer evidence about the effects of ocean noise pollution. That, in turn, could bring about even more positive changes to help quiet down the world's oceans. Now that's music to a whale's ears. So, okay, good ending here. They summed everything up. They gave you like a lesson or a hope for the future. So, this is a good piece of writing. And they varied their sentence structure with that exclamatory sentence. Now, that's music to a whale's ears. They played around with their language. All right, so this is part 2. So, we've just done a bit more of a deep dive into this article. And next, we are going to take a look at the questions. Okay. Good luck with this.